Hello guys, this is Sumadhu Shakya. In this video, we'll be doing the analysis based off of the last two videos, wherein in immediately last videos I created these two layers, one for the candidate location and one for the hotels and hospitals. And the video before that, I showed how to create a network from a road file or and using an edges type of data for the three counties: Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Bernardino. Sorry, and then so using these three counties, the edges for these three counties, I created a road network separately after creating the two columns for one for the one that shows distance in miles and another one that shows me the time for each part of the edges on the road network in minutes. So in this one, using those resources, I'm going to use a service called an application within the ArcGIS desktop called Location Allocation. Okay, what the Location Allocation allows us to do is it allows us to allocate certain warehouses or facilities to a target set of points. So some of the useful problems that helps in decision making is, let's say, minimize impedance being something at the cost of, and then maximizing coverage, or let's say maximizing market share or the target market share. Yeah, so in this case, that is the first thing I'm going to use for maximizing the coverage or choosing the location as to which one is the best location out of the candidate locations that I have. Now, so first thing I want to do is I want to minimize the number of candidate locations I have, because I see some of the locations are outside the area for which I have the edges for. So if you see, my edges are only for three counties, whereas there are some of the locations that fall outside that zone. So if you see here, hold on. Okay, so let's resume. So first thing I want to do is make sure, yeah, so I was trying to say that these points are outside the area or the counties for which I have the edges for, or the road network built for. So the first thing I have to do is I want to select everything that is within these three county area. So I'm going to uncheck the edges for now, and also uncheck the Monterey County. So first I'm going to bring this one here, and also this Monterey County here. And I want to group these four files together and say location allocation for my class. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to select few of the candidate locations that fall within the area. So if you see, I do have the tri-county location, and instead of Monterey County, I want to highlight the tri-county region. Yeah, so if you see, I want to put in the names of these counties just to be safe before I start taking the names, labels and names, and want a somewhat bigger, but I want them to be a little grayed out so they look like they're in yeah, so Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito County. Now I want only these candidate locations, the ones that are in black, to be selected based off of the location. So I'm going to go attribute table. Yeah, so, and at this point I'm going to go to the selection, select by location, and in the location I'm going to say select the features from. Okay, so I am going to say select the features from the candidate locations. Source layer is the hotels and hospital, so want to change that based on the tri-county region. And then I'm going to say choose the features from this. So at this point, what I'm trying to do here is hold on. Let me choose the pen here. Pen. So I want to choose the features from this layer such that they are completely within the source layer. Now this is called source layer, you see. Yeah, so this is called the source layer. So I want to choose the source the settings such that they are completely within the source layer feature. Yeah, so this is what I need to choose. Okay, so are completely within the source layer feature. Yeah, then hit apply, OK, and that chooses the candidate location that are within the tri-county area. Now this is by location. Yeah, so then when I click onto the tab show only selected records, I can see all set of the details of those locations. Now if you see also there's certain points that happen to fall, let's say city of Salinas and so on. So there are multiple things that almost will look the same. However, their zip code is different. 93901, 93905, 905. So even this is not unique. So even I have location from the same zip code as well. So at some point I will have to create a unique location ID for each of the points. So, but at this point, I want to proceed ahead with, let's say, the exporting of these selected features such that I can treat them as a different file. Okay, so I want to go right click data, export using the data frame projection system, and I'm going to go to inputs, example 1, and I'm going to say selected or let me call this potential candidate locations. Okay, and I'm going to say yes, and then immediately clear selected features. Okay, so that I remove my selection, so then I don't end up doing a mistake later on when I'm doing an analysis, and the analysis is performed only on some of the features just because I have some of the selections active. Okay, so I want to try to get back to the normal state for any of the selections that I make or any of the other settings. So at this point, if I choose only the potential candidate locations, they all fall within the area for which I have the road network for. Okay, so I'm going to make them a little different so then it's easy to see. And so I'll go to symbology, or oops, there's an easy way to get there. I just want to double click this point that is being used as symbol, and I'm going to use, let's say, anything for now. Let me choose something a little easier to distinguish. I'm going to go back to this black triangles again. Okay, now let's get on to the analyst application, the network analyst, for this location allocation analysis. Okay, so first thing I want to do is make sure that I go to customize and the network analyst option is on. So I want to uncheck the business analyst for now. Let's go to network analyst. So make sure this is checked. So this is what will allow this thing, network analyst. So this has to be there, otherwise even if you were to go to the applications, it will not run, saying that you do not have the authorization. So based on the type of license, once you check it, check the box for it, you should be able to find them. So if, at this point, if you go to the toolboxes, there are some system toolboxes. Yeah, within the system toolboxes, you can find the network analyst. Yeah, so EFGH network analyst, and then we will go for the analysis and create the location allocation. Okay, so first thing, let me bring it a little closer here. So I'm going to make a location allocation layer. Okay. So now, once before I move forward, you remember I wanted to create the unique location points such that they are usable for me. So I will do that right now. So then if let's say here at this point I want to have some way to identify each of these points. Yeah. So if I select one row, it selects one point there, but I don't have a way to uniquely identify all my locations. So I'm going to go to let's say unique ID. So I'm going to create this as a text, and I'm going to go to let's say I need to get out of the selection, otherwise it will create only for that particular selection, not for all the other rows. And then field calculator, and then at this time I will say what things can I use for my benefit. So I'm going to say the zip code and then the object ID. Yeah, that would tell me their location ID. Or I can also choose Watsonville number 1 and then Salinas number 2 and so on. So then everything will become, this will become Salinas 24, Salinas 25 and so on. So whichever is easier for you to identify. At this point I would say because I created the field as a text, so I want to use the text values. So let me use the city, and let's say, so I was going to use city and object ID. Now so what this should create for me is Watsonville 1, and then Salinas 2, then Salinas 24. Yeah, so if you see here, it should create, where's my pen? So it should create, let's say, this field getting concatenated immediately with this field because I'm using city and object ID as the calculation field. So unique ID is equals to this. So even though I have this Salinas, but the object ID is different, so 24 and 25. Okay, so this way it gives me a little bit about the location, so then I as a human, I can refer to it. Let's say a location facility in Soledad versus Salinas, and then within Salinas I can differentiate the same points that would be suffixed by a different number, 24 and 25. Yeah, so let's say, and then I hit OK, and there you have it. So now I have a unique ID that I can use for. Okay, now let me see if I also have something same for the respondents, or the hotels and hospitals. So let's say I want to get this thing out of here. Okay, so within this folder I only have the relative things that I want to use. And so let's say, where was I? Hotels and hospitals. Right click. So do I have a unique ID? I do not see any unique IDs. I think I can use OSM, but just to be sure, I will sort them as ascending order and see if I see any duplicates there. Apparently looks like there's no duplicates there. So this serves my purpose. Yeah, OSM ID, and these values are stored as text. And to check, I will go to properties. Yes, it's a string, so string refers to a text field. So this column is created as a box that can only hold or store texts values, and it can store up to 10 characters long text value. Okay, so just to make sure, no selected values. Okay, now I'm going to double click on this and say input analysis network. I don't have one other than the one that I created, so it's a relatively easy choice. And the moment I do that, I see a lot of fields got filled on their own. Output layer name will be this, Do you want to allow this interaction? Yes. And impedance got chosen as miles. So this would be based on the distance between the points and the facility to demand, minimizing the impedance attribute being miles. So it'll try to minimize the distance traveled, and then the number of facilities to find. This is optional. As of now, it'll try to choose only one. I'm going to start with help me choose at least 3 facilities. Impedance cutoff, this is the maximum number of miles it should look for. I'm going to leave that blank as of now. And then start time or end time, other parameters. Accumulators is when I say yes, I do want accumulated values of miles, the distance, and the minutes. Now remember, these are the values that I created, so I can, this is where it saves me confusion if it's going to be done something in a temporary memory by the system, or if it's some of the values that I created. So what's going to be used? So this is where it helps me get out of that confusion zone. And the output path shape would be the straight lines instead of no lines. Now the actual lines takes a lot of memory, so those options are not there for this particular application. Okay, in this case, yes, allow U-turns, we don't care. Our network is somewhat simple. You may remember from the video that I created the network for. Then hit OK, and then it'll start creating the layer for location allocation. So remember, our original table of content was here, and now we have our location allocation such that there's a facilities option, and then you have the demand point options that we are going to choose. These are some of the outputs and the restrictions if you want to add. Our original table of contents got scrolled below that. Okay, so first thing I'm going to say is I want to see the window that goes with this new set of things that just got added. Okay, and so in order to see the relative toolbar, I'm going to go to customize toolbars and search for the network analyst. So this is where network analyst here. So I will bring this over here somewhere. Yeah, so this is the window that will help me see the data related to these. So okay, I will click this, and then I get to the location allocation. So you remember, you can have multiple networks here, but this is the name that we gave it. So first I'm going to create the facilities point. The facilities would be the candidate location out of which I'm trying to make the selection. So load location for the facilities, I want my potential candidate locations and sort them by the unique ID that I just created, and every field should be named by the unique ID that I just created. And then facility type is when, let's say, if in the data set I had multiple categories of facility, this is where I will choose. And then if I was to have a column that gave different weights, so I don't have that, so I'll keep that simple just for the demonstration purpose. And then you can also could have created certain capacities for each of those locations. At this point, I'm going to give this search tolerance of 5 miles. This is where the network is used for every point for the nearest road. So if it cannot find a nearest road, then it locates the closest point on the road. So that's about it. And then similarly, I'm going to load. Now it's going to take some time. You remember, if you see here at the end of this part, this is where it shows that it's the progress of loading the points into the facilities. Okay, so I'll wait for it to finish, and then similarly, since these are already there, I'm going to uncheck my potential candidate. So if you see, This is unnecessary now because I can see the location of my candidates here. And the next thing I want to do is these are my demand points such that I again load the location, and my demand points would be hotels and hospitals, such that I use the OSM ID as the unique value, and they should be sorted as per OSM ID. I do have the group name. Let's say if I was to choose F class or name. So I don't remember. Let me go back and check. Within the hotels and hospital, I think there was a column that says if they are hotels or hospital. So that's the F class. And then you have the name, yeah? And we can also separate them by the code. So I have the two options, either by code or by F class. So let's see which one will it accept. Will it accept the number or will it accept the text of F class? So hotels and hospital, that's right, and sort them by OSM ID, which is in this column. And bring it here. Name, I want something unique, so I'll use the OSM column here. Weight, again, if you were to provide certain weight for each of the different categories, then you could have had a different column here that specifies hotels are important or hospitals are important. And then the group name, I would call this as F class. Maybe, let's say if it does not give me error, then I'll be happy, but if not, I'll use next time the codes because those are in numbers. Impedance transformation and all that things are not going to be used right now. I'm not going to use them. I can also consider what is the impedance parameters and so on, so if it was to be in this shapefile, but I'm going to use it from the network. Cutoff distance, I do not have it. Let's say for hotel, I want the network to consider even up to 100 miles, but for hospitals it has to be within, let's say, 15 or 20 miles depending on the time. So but all those, for the sake of simplicity, I'm ignoring as of now. And then same search tolerance, 5 miles, and then hit OK. Again, you see the progress bar to the bottom right. So it is showing you the progress bar. As of now it's 5%, so it takes time, and depending on how many points do you have, and within for every all of those points, how much information do you have in this attribute table. The more information you have towards, let's say, more columns do you have in this, the more time it'll take, even if you have less number of points. So this is where the computing power does affect your ability to analyze. Okay, so I will come back when this is somewhat done. Okay, so now that it's loaded, I'm going to go ahead and close this attribute table for now. And so these are all my demand points. The one in the, let me zoom in a little bit. I think I can afford right now, and use the hand value to bring it about here. Zoom in once more. Okay, once more. Okay, I think that takes care of it all. Now at this point, I'm going to make a copy of this. Mark my basics. I want to save this as I'm going to give it a name that helps me remember this. Location allocation. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve. So for solving, I have to click this icon that says, if you hover your mouse over it, says solve. And remember, I'm still using the same network that I created. However, the layer for the analysis for the application of network analyst is location-allocation. Okay, so I'm going to hit solve, and let's see what all three facilities does it choose. Warning: only facilities are present in the solution set. Only one facilities. So we'll see the three facilities will not result in a better solution because some facilities have locations that are redundant. Okay, so at this point it chose only one of these locations. Okay, because this was the best solution that it found. So the impedance was minimized if it was to choose only this location. But remember, we asked it to choose up to 3 facilities. Yeah. So we will go back and see why is it doing what it is doing. So you see this icon here, wherein a small icon right next to, small icon right next to this one for the network analyst window. So we're going to click that and see what factor is it using to analyze. Now remember, here in the location allocation analysis, we have certain criteria as to how it is choosing, correct? So as of now, if we are trying to serve all of the hotels and hospitals using three locations, then we should be using maximize market share. Or if we want to use the maximize attendance, so accordingly the formula or the reasoning behind the analysis would become different. So at this point, because I'm dealing with the hospitals and hotels, I want to find the location, the three best locations that will help me serve all of these demand points. So I'm going to choose here on the tab of advanced settings. I'm going to say maximize coverage, okay? And let's say I still want to keep my facilities to choose as 3. Impedance cutoff, I have no maximum amount of impedance allowed as of now, so I don't want to limit the maximum amount of distance traveled, okay? Hit apply, hit OK, and then solve it again, okay? And then it says a default cutoff is required, okay? I'll give it a default cutoff then. Default cutoff is now, by the way, if you see, the moment you choose this, it also gives you how it is going to calculate those. So the impedance cutoff, I'm going to put in, let's say, on an average, if somebody drives at average speed of 35 miles, I want within 2 hours to get from facilities to anywhere else. Target market share, I want to make at least 10% market share. Default capacity is 1, that's fine. Hit OK and try to solve it again. And now only 2 facilities are present in the solution set. When it says solution set, you remember it's part of the linear programming solution. So that's what you should be recalling when you are looking at this. So it shows 2 facilities. Anything on this end is not going to make any better solution. So if they were to choose any of these facility, it only going to increase the total distance that it will be traveled with the aim of trying to maximize the market share. Okay, so this is just for sample. These demand set is very small. You could have a demand set for every population, every gender, or by gender or by income. So you could have thousands or 2,000s of points within these counties. So as of now, it is somewhat one-sided because all of the demand points are towards the side of the coast, and all of our candidate locations are towards, let's say, on the eastern part of the Monterey County and north side of the Monterey County. Yeah, so this is one way as to how you can analyze if you were, let's say, try to solve a marketing problem where you're trying to maximize the target market share. You can also say, let's try some other ones wherein I'm saying minimize the number of facilities that it requires. Okay, so if that's the case, my impedance cutoff is still the same. Facilities to choose is 3 because it's grayed out, it's not available to me anymore. And hit OK, and let's solve it again. So in this case, it chose again only 1 facility. If you see, where is my result? The result should be in the chosen one. Okay, so if you right click on this, it's not letting me do it, or is it the recording software? Okay, I have no idea, it's not working right now. Let me choose here facilities and see the properties. So the total miles traveled for this one is the candidate facility type. This is the only chosen one. So if I was to sort it, I should be able to see all the chosen ones. So you see there's only 1 chosen facility, and that chosen facility has the attribute wherein it had the ability to deliver on either side of the road when you're traveling the vehicle. You can also specify you want it to be delivered on the right side. Accordingly, the truck will approach through a different route. And the total miles traveled is this much, so about 1004 miles traveled between all the demand points and the facility. Okay, so we did not specify any capacity, so that's already here. Now let me get out of the selection and try another one. Let's say using the target market share. Now I want to specify the target market share. Let's say if I had numerous thousands of points, then instead of 10%, I wanted to reach at least 50% of the market share. Our analysis should not change. I mean, it would still be one of these points that may turn out to be the best ones, but we'll see it anyways. And choose warning demand points are not used when solving for market share maximization problem. Okay. Now, in this case, all it is saying is that it's only focusing on these candidate location and not on the demand points, because this one meets most of the criteria that we set for. So the demand is not affecting because we did not specify anything about the demand as to how important this is in terms of weight and so on. Okay, so that's more about it. And let's say we go back to our maximizing coverage problem. Then hit apply, hit solve, and only 2 facilities was to be chosen. Now let's say out of these 2, I'm happy with this for now. Now I want to create a map out of it. Then before I do, or let's say I want to create a map such that I want to create a very different type of analysis, but I don't want to lose this as of now. So what I can do is I can use this facility, export this, and go for, let's say, within the example 1 that I created. So not here. Well, I can say create a folder called location allocation, and within that folder I'm going to create this what was we chose maximizing coverage and facilities. So when I look at the file, I know what it is for. Yes, and also in terms of the demand points, there should not be anything much of interest because we did not use any type of analysis that may provide any information that is helpful for us on this end. We already know most of the information that is being used here. Group name is, this is what we assigned already. So that's about it. And then the second thing is I'm also interested in getting these lines out. So the connection lines. So I'm going to export them as shapefile again. And this time I'm going to say that this is lines. Okay. Yes. And at this point I can change the analysis type and do whatever I want. But let's say if this is all that I wanted, then I can go back to my layout view, and I'm going to change my data set and say this is excuse me, location, allocation, maximize coverage, and that's about it, and hit OK. And then I go back to save again, file, export map, and this one I'm going to call so far I have how many maps? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to create, let's say, 5. Location, allocation, maximize facilities, and this I would call map number, I mean within that subcategory I'll say this is map number 1, and should be done. Okay, thanks. So if you guys have any problem, you know where to find me. Just contact me and I'll get back to you. Thanks. Have a nice day. Bye bye.